Good morning. Happy New Year, 97.1. Jim Costa, John Jansen, Heather Park, Gov and Greg behind the glass. Gang's all back together for the new year. TJ Lang will join us in the 9 o'clock hour on today's show. We're talking all about the Lions season now that it's over. Officially. We knew they couldn't make the playoffs going into yesterday's game. They won, and that may left you feeling a certain type of way. We'll keep exploring our feelings today, John. But let's talk about the reality of this. The number one reason the Lions missed the playoffs. As the dust settles, what would you say the number one reason is?
I know Brendan had it in maybe it was the first update in regards to the games that they were able to rush for over 100 yards or won the rushing battle. They were, 9-1.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a huge part of this offense. For this offense to operate at maximum efficiency, you've got to be able to run the football. You've got to be able to protect the quarterback. Well, if you run the ball, it's much easier to protect your quarterback. And I mentioned this last year when the season was over and we got a chance to look back. They ran the ball 51% of the time. Of the times that they passed, they also were in play action pass 50% of the time. So 75% of the time, you're allowing your offensive line to be the aggressor. That is an offense I would have died to play in for just 1 year.
Well, explain that to people, because as a pass blocker,
you're running backwards while the defender is running forwards. It's a disadvantage. And yeah, there are things that you can do to get an advantage. But if those are the numbers and you're able to fire off the ball, whether it's to sell run and ultimately you're pass blocking, or to actually be the aggressor in run blocking, it makes your life so much easier.
Look, the stat that Brendan gave is probably going to be true for a lot of teams. Typically, the winning team runs for more yards because they're playing with a lead running the clock out. So those stats aren't always a perfect indicator, but I do think it's perfect to describe this football team. This football team's identity is wrapped around the idea that they manhandle you at the line of scrimmage, reset that line of scrimmage 3, 4, 5 yards down the field, and a back like Montgomery is going to fall forward. A back like Gibbs is going to get that crease, and it's going to be an explosive. Too many times this year, they couldn't reset the line of scrimmage. They couldn't run the football. And whatever the numbers say, it's a down in and down out issue. It just wasn't there reliably. It wasn't there when they needed it in big spots. And the result was they couldn't convert as many of those third and fourth downs. They weren't as good in those money downs. Mm-hmm. They weren't as good as they had been. And it put Jared Goff in a position where he had to be a superhero. And he actually played fairly well this season. But it's
he played really well this season.
But it's just not a formula that's going to lead to many wins for this football team.
No. And, there's plenty of things you could talk about defensively.
Yeah.
And it's you need to be able to win the rushing battle, but part of that battle is being able to stop the run. And the one place where they did not suffer injuries is in the front seven.
Right. And think about this too, John. You can help a defense by keeping them off the field. Well, how do you sustain TOP? You can convert some passes, but really it's about running the football. And think about it. In two of their swing games at the end of the season, the Rams game and the Steelers game, the third quarter, they hardly possessed the ball. Didn't they have negative 3 yards in the third quarter against the Steelers? They left their defense out to dry. And against the Rams, that game was a shootout. They had to keep up. Their third quarter stalled out. They couldn't move the ball. If you can't possess it, you're only going to put your defense in a bad spot. And it's not like this defense was the 85 Bears.
Right. And some of it is, okay, you can even win the time of possession, but you look and you're like, oh, man, the defense looks tired. When you go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Yep.
And the defense is back on the field 2 minutes after they just got off the field. And then you allow, the opponent's offense to go on a 10-play drive, and then all of a sudden, hey, your offense, just get a first down. They're unable to, and then you're back on the field in another 2 minutes. You could still win the time of possession, but it's how it's all sequenced.
Yeah. Their sequencing. They couldn't be that team consistently. And I think it all distills back to they need to be able to run the football better. Mm-hmm. And there are other reasons they missed the playoffs, and we'll collect those on the phones and the text, 248-539-9797. How big a deal are, because I know we're going to get these texts and these calls, how big a deal in your mind are the injuries?
Well, they're a factor. They're always going to be a factor. But then you look and you see a team like San Francisco, who defensively, they were brutalized. Their number one linebacker, gone. Their number one edge rusher, gone. I would argue that they had more impactful players gone than the Lions had.
Yeah.
and they still were able to find ways to make stops. Now, ultimately, they didn't win their division, but they were in a much tougher division.
Yeah, and they're still playing.
Yeah.
And they were playing for the 1 seed in the final week of the season.
Yeah.
With losing Bosa and Warner, and they missed Purdy for a good chunk of the season, their starting quarterback. How many teams are going to miss their starting quarterback for more than a month and make the playoffs?
Yeah.
I mean, it just shows you. Like, how about Pittsburgh when they played here? Their left side of their offensive line were backup players, and they're running 40-yard chunk plays on us with Jack Campbell and Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil all playing.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot more factors other than just being able to run the football. But for this offense and for this team, the way it's constructed, their path to victory, you've got to be able to run the football.
I mean, I totally agree, the trenches, but I can't get past 0-4 against the Packers and Vikings. That's why we're sitting here today in this situation.
Yeah.
You can break it down to why did that happen. I was alarmed by the first game by how the Packers physically dominated the Lions.
I think everybody was.
Yeah.
And I think the Vikings and Packers over the last couple of years have built themselves to beat the Lions.
Yes.
And that needs to change big time.
But it's interesting. They've done it differently. Like, their defenses are very different.
Yes.
Minnesota is your aggressive, blitzing, zero blitzes, stunts, twists, games, mugging up on the line of scrimmage. Green Bay, especially when they had Parsons, were a team that would zone you, drop back. But both of them are clearly designed to beat the Lions.
Yeah, and make the Lions work it down the field slowly.
Yes.
And I think the whole grit and physicality thing is definitely brought up in preparation by those two teams. When they're preparing for the Lions, they're saying, hey, this is what this team's all about. They think they're more physical than you. They think they're going to grind you out play by play. And I think the Vikings and Packers have totally matched them in that. So that mirage has gone away now. Now it's about talent and scheming back against them. They have to counter. Those teams have answered the Lions' call, and now the Lions need to counter it back.
Yeah, the Lions aren't outworking the other teams at this point. Like, and some of this is you go from being the hunter to the hunted. Mm-hmm. You go from being the underdog and you play that card, but then you win 15 games, you get a tough schedule, you get everybody's best shot, and if you're not up to the challenge of out-physicaling people anymore, or they have raised their level to meet you, suddenly you get caught. I think that shows up the most, though, in the run game, to take it all back to that, right? I mean, that's where you really form the physical identity of a football team.
Yeah. And when you're talking about being able to convert on third downs or making those third down, conversions, you're going to go for it on fourth down. When do you want to be able to be at your best in the run game? 4th and 1, 4th and 2. And that's where this team really struggled.
Number one reason they missed the playoffs. Guys, I know we need a bunch of content for you to babble on and on about. However, the number one reason why they didn't make the playoffs was officiating. The real conversation is what they need to do to go. The real conversation is what they need to do in order to have a team that's worthy of going deep in the playoffs, as this team wasn't going to win a Super Bowl. But the station doesn't want to have real conversations. Word soup. Huh. This from the guy that thinks officiating kept the Lions out of the playoffs? Okay.
There's a lot of different reasons why the Lions are where they are right now.
But you wouldn't put officiating near the top of the list.
No, officiating I wouldn't even put that on the list.
Okay, good. We got phone calls to get to, more of your text. It's 97.1.